So what is going to happen on election night? Will it be a majority? Will it be a minority? Will it be conservative minority or a liberal majority? Well, the polls would suggest that it's very close. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Warren Kinsella and Brian Lilley. Okay, the polls were one thing 6 months ago, another thing 3 months ago. Here we are today, Brian, and it's a very close race. The national poll numbers are very
Yeah.
close between the Liberals and the Conservatives, no question about it. The NDP is completely non-existent, and the Bloc is struggling in Quebec. So this is shaping up to pretty much be a head-to-head battle between Liberals and Conservatives. So let's talk about the potential outcomes. None of us know. We had massive advanced voter turnout, which is good to see. But let's talk about some of those scenarios that could come forward.
So we're looking at everything right now from a huge liberal majority to a conservative minority. And I
Mhm.
know some people would say, well, the polls aren't showing that. The polls have been tightening for the last little while. And I was talking with Daryl Bricker from Ipsos. And, Daryl's been doing polling longer than most people in this business. He knows the industry well. He looks after global public affairs for Ipsos, the largest polling firm in the world. And he told me a couple of things. One, uh, let's say we do get to 70% voter turnout, which is possible based on that, advanced voter. If that carries on, we'd get to 70%. But you have to remember that every election, advanced voter turnout has increased as all parties use it to try and lock people in before the leader does something stupid and hurts themselves. So maybe we get to 70%. If we get to 70%, that means that 30% of everyone all the polling firms have been talking to won't show up. So are they
Mm.
weighted heavily in favor of one party or another, or are they evenly distributed? He said that's not something that they are able to determine, especially since they can't release a poll after a certain time, on election day. They can release a poll up until Sunday night. So that basically means they've got to stop polling by Sunday morning, Sunday at noon, so they can tabulate it, get the numbers out there. Because after Sunday night, they can't release anything. Well, here's another thing. Increasingly, and this is a global trend that Ipsos has found, is that people make up their minds in the last 72 hours. And 5 to 10% of people who will vote make up their mind on voting day. Either when they wake up, on their way to the poll, when they're in the poll. So that could turn into a huge swing in a race that is just a few points apart. You look at the polling trackers. The Toronto Star's polling tracker has them effectively tied. CBC's has them about 3 points apart. So look, the most likely outcome is a liberal victory of one sort or another. But who wins elections? The side that gets their people to show up. So there's still a potential for the Conservatives to win. I don't think there's a potential for the Conservatives to win a majority, but I will always acquiesce to my friend, my colleague, my muse, Warren Kinsella, who's actually run war rooms.
And certainly knows a thing or two about what happens on election day and what is going on in behind the scenes, and they get out the vote. And Brian's right, Warren, it is about who gets their people to show up to the polls. We certainly know in this particular election, the enthusiasm on the conservative side of the aisle is just palpable. It's extraordinary. Now, what we can't extrapolate too much out of what we saw in terms of the numbers on the advanced polls, but let's sort of walk through some of those scenarios. Let's say it is a liberal minority. The NDP is likely going to be relegated to nothing. And who props up the liberals? Who are do they work with the bloc? What do you see in that scenario?
Well, just on the polls, and I've known Daryl Bricker forever, but with the greatest respect to all my friends in the polling industry, I choose my gut over the numbers 10 times out of 10. My gut doesn't ever steer me wrong generally. And my gut tells me that it has been tightening for days. The numbers reflect that. You know,
Mhm.
the Conservatives have really run a campaign that has been pretty much error-free.
That's right.
You know, they haven't had, you know, everybody had the bimbo eruptions with candidates, but all the parties had that. I really think that Poilievre's run a disciplined campaign. He stuck to his message track. He hasn't diverted. Whereas Carney, you know, as three of us have talked about elsewhere, you know, has been telling these fibs and these whoppers and getting himself in trouble, a lot of self-inflicted wounds. So I think it has tightened up. And I think this final weekend, this is where get out the vote, as you point out, really matters. I wrote a column for us weeks ago saying one of the key strengths that Pierre Poilievre has got is an army on the ground.
Mhm.
Like, you know, I'm telling you guys, I ran liberal war rooms. I know the Liberal Party inside and out. The Liberal Party, in some ridings, in some places of this country, has not existed at the riding level for years. They are just ridings in name. So we've seen people come out to Carney events, but they're coming out generally in bigger cities. Whereas if you look at the Poilievre events, they're taking place in smaller towns and they're getting out thousands of people. And, you know, everybody has the rally wars, but, you know, when I saw Poilievre's numbers, it's like, man, if you can harness that power in a place like Kelowna, where you had thousands of people out, that's going to make a big difference on E-Day. So that's what I'm going to be watching for on Monday from a great distance, where I am in Israel, to see, you know, who gets out the vote best and fastest.
Brian, there are obviously so many changes that are people are anticipating before the big night on Monday. You know, as you sort of talk about those that go to the ballot box on election day and sort of make up their mind right then and there. It's tough to predict, of course, how they break, but this idea of the ballot question, I think, has shifted from oh my God, Donald Trump to okay, I still want change.
Yeah.
How do you see that uh, playing out in this? Because which will ultimately determine a minority or majority government.
Look, the conservatives are have stayed on the message of change versus being all in on Donald Trump. The liberals have tried to make it all about Donald Trump. That's faded a bit. They've tried to resurrect it in the last few days. Is that going to be enough? Will it work? You know, we don't know right now. Best case scenario or most likely scenario is a liberal victory. But does that change happen? Do these Viagra style ads of two guys talking at a golf course work for the conservatives to get men 55 plus voting for them, saying like, do you give these guys a fourth term? That's something that we don't know the impact of. I was watching the Leafs Sens game on Thursday night. I saw more Stephen Harper ads
Hmm.
saying vote for Pierre Poilievre. Then I saw Mark Carney ad saying I'm the man to lead in the crisis. So a
Yeah.
lot of things happening all at once in these last few days. The momentum is going towards the conservatives. I remember when people were talking about how the liberals might actually go into early May, and I thought they'd be stupid to go into early May. The longer this campaign goes, the worse it is for Mark Carney. The way things are going, if they had gone for a May 5th date instead of April 28th, I think the conservatives would definitely be winning. Now there's a potential they could win despite the NDP collapse, despite the bloc collapse, despite the Trump threat. Um, I know folks are saying that they should have pivoted earlier. Maybe, but in some polls they're still at 40% in Ontario, which would give you a massive majority normally. But
Mhm.
the Liberals are higher because these
That's
other
right.
parties have collapsed. So look, it's a very fluid election. Look at how we've come from huge liberal or huge conservative lead to huge liberal lead to, oh my God, they're tied or 3 to 4 points apart. At this point, to the victor go the spoils. Who's the victor going to be? The person that shows up. Low propensity voters helped Barack Obama win in 2008, Justin Trudeau win in 2015, Donald Trump win in 2024. Are they going to help Pierre Poilievre win in 2025? Maybe, if he can get them out, if they can harvest what Warren was talking about and those people showing up.
Quick last word to you, Warren.
I still think I think Brian's right. If it had gone another week, I think we may be looking at a conservative victory. But right now, we're going to get a liberal victory, but I don't think it's going to be a landslide. But I could be wrong.
Well, Canada, now is your opportunity to vote for change or the status quo. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to the torontosun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.